Hello and welcome back. In today's videos, we're going to be talking about credit card APRs. So let's get started. For this video to make sense, you need to understand what APR does, and I made a video on that, so check it out there. So why does a credit card get its own APR video? Well, it's because credit cards are a special type of loan in the sense that they operate differently than other types of loans. One is that they calculate interest on a daily basis, and they generally have multiple different types of APRs that can happen at one time. Credit cards are also revolving lines of credit, so things can change and fluctuate. So that's why I decided to make a video to cover some of the differences and the different types of APRs you may have with your credit card. First things first is that credit cards operate on variable interest rates. So the rate that you may have gotten when you open the card is not generally the rate that you will have years down the line because it will fluctuate with the prime rate. Another thing is that they tend to have promotional rates, special introductory offers, and different types of ways to make purchases on your card, and each one could have its own rate. When you are selecting a credit card, it's important to make sure that you look at the disclosure that comes with the offer as well as when you actually obtain your card, so you can see the different rates yourself for the different types of purchases. So we're actually going to go over the different types of purchases that you could make on your credit card. So the first one is the one that everybody is used to, and that's the purchase, which is the rate applied to new credit card purchases, and there is generally a grace period attached to this. So this is when you have, it's usually between 25 to 30 days before interest starts accruing on that balance. The second type is called cash advance, and that's a rate for borrowing cash from your credit card. So put in your credit card into an ATM to pull cash. Sometimes they will also mail you these checks and you could write out a check to yourself, and it is generally higher than purchases. There also sometimes can be different APRs for checks versus using an ATM card. So that is something to pay attention to. In general, there are no grace periods on cash advances. So the day that you get that cash advance is the day the interest rate starts. Now, there are other types of APRs that could be included as well. So let's talk about those too. Introductory. So typically this is a very low rate, sometimes zero offered, and it is for a limited period of time. There's also sometimes promotional rates. So those are special rates that could maybe applied to specific transactions. So balance transfers, cash advances, those type of things. Some credit cards also have penalty APRs, which is when you don't pay your credit card, then they can apply a penalty APR, and that's generally the highest that there is advertised on the card. And so that's something you want to pay attention to, as well as the fact that if you end up getting a penalty APR, most oftentimes that will stop your introductory rate or your promotional APR as well, and then you start owing interest from that day forward, or sometimes all the way back depending on the nature of the loan terms. Another thing I want to cover about credit cards is that generally there are like a couple of fees that could be associated with them. So the first fee is an annual fee. So that's if you pay for the use of a special credit card. Those are the ones that have like extra travel services, etc. Now, besides that, they also generally have what's called a transfer fee. So that is a percentage of how much it is that you transfer from the card to handle another loan or another credit card. Sometimes they also have transaction fees that are tied to cash advances. It's usually like a flat amount or a percentage, and it's whatever one is higher. Besides a penalty APR, some cards do also have a penalty fee or just a penalty fee, which could be a set dollar amount. So because there's many different types of APRs on a credit card, it is actually possible for your balance to actually be affected by a bunch of different ones depending on how you accumulated that balance. So in general, your credit card statement will have a statement, which is like just a line that says how much is being applied at this rate, how much is being applied at this rate, and how much is being applied at this rate. Now, in general, if you have a higher credit score, then the APRs that you will have might be lower than somebody who has a lower credit score. That's just something to be mindful of, as well as the fact that sometimes you may have gotten a card when your credit score was was terrible, and it may be time to consider getting a new card where you now will qualify with your better score. I hope this video made sense and covered the different types of purchases that you can make on a credit card and therefore could be having different APR rates. So for example, I'm just going to use this Capital One credit offer that was sent to me. That way you could see the advertised rates. So this is the disclosure form, and as you can see, it tells you that there is an introductory APR and then how long it lasts for. So in this case, until 12/2024. Then it says after that, your APR will be 19.99%, 25.99%, or 29.99%, and that's based on your credit worthiness. Also, they have a statement there saying that this APR will vary with the market based on the prime rate. Next, you'll see a box that says APR for cash advances, and there you'll see it's at that higher rate of 29.99%, and there is no mention here about my credit worthiness lowering it. And again, there's a statement that your APR will vary based on the prime rate. Next, you'll see a box that talks about paying interest, and here it says that your due date is at least 25 days after the close of each billing cycle. So that means that you will not be charged interest on new purchases, provided that you paid your previous balance in full by the due date each month. And that here is the very important part here. We begin charging interest on cash advances and transfers on the transaction date. Later, you're going to see there is fees. So the annual fee, there's none. The transaction fees, they're 3% for a transfer fee, none if their balances are after that 12/24 billing period. Then there is a cash advance. It's either $3 or 3% of that cash advance for each cash advance that you do, whichever one is greater. And here it lists your penalty fees. Late payment can be up to $40. So that's just one example. When you get a credit card offer, when you accept credit card terms, you will get a new disclosure every time, so that way you can review it. If you have had a credit card for a long time, you can also just contact the credit card company in order to get the most latest rates. So for example, when I opened up my credit card, my first one, I was like 17, and it was at an interest rate of 9.99%, and now I am hovering around 18.99%. So things have changed, of course, but I was not aware of that when I decided to use my card again for the first time in a couple of years. And so it was just a really quick phone call and that got sorted out. So I hope you found this video helpful. It covered a little bit about the different types of purchases that you can make with your credit card and the fact that there may be different fees or there may be different APR attached to those types of purchases. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below. You can always just say hi too. Love saying hi back. Do me a favor, give this video a like, share it with a friend. If you are subscribed, thank you so much for coming back and watching a video. If you're not subscribed and this is your first time, welcome. Do me a favor, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.